Okay, then we are back from our executive session. And we're going to continue with our agenda. First thing we have is approval of minutes, January 29th and February 5th.
Right.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
And seconded.
Okay, anything changes, anything?
No.
No? Okay, then all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we've got general public comment. If there's anybody who has any public comment. Don't all speak at once.
Then we can get on to the fun stuff.
All right, then we're gonna move on. We have a 7 p.m. presentation of a Girl Scout Gold Award project by Larissa Granger. We're a little late, but
Thanks for bearing with us.
does Kristen have anything?
Kristen is here and she's hopefully gonna run the slideshow, Clarissa's slideshow from her computer.
Okay,
She's in the, she's not.
So you'll need to, is she an attendee?
I promoted her.
Oh, panelist. There we
Yeah,
go. Look at
she is.
that. They'll be up there.
Oh, I can't believe Eric's not here.
I know.
seriously?
Now I have more questions for him.
No, going forward, yes. I
Can
also-
everyone see the PowerPoint?
Oh, okay. Oh, look at that, great,
know.
all right.
It was a pretty.
Hi, Larissa,
That's
Hi,
how are you?
good.
good.
Nervous. Don't be nervous. It's just,
No, it's just us.
You gotta see us
Yeah.
before the meeting even, we're pretty laid back here.
yeah. So what do you got for us?
So hi, my name is Larissa Granger, and I'm a Girl Scout of Troop 7502. My Gold Award project is called Berwyn Community Garden Project. It was first proposed to me by my troop leader. So first, a little bit about me. I've been a Girl Scout for about 13 years, and I'm currently 18 and a senior at Azabet Valley High School. After high school, I plan to attend college and double major in biology and biotechnology.
Great.
Yeah,
I can't balance a checkbook, so congratulations,
That's it.
honestly.
That's good. 13 years dedicated to scouting is a great thing.
Yes.
It shows some serious dedication. It will serve you good in life.
Mhm.
So now about my project, start off like what were the root causes. So, there was a lack of seeding and a mosquito problem at the Berwyn Community Garden. The garden is located in an open field that is close to streams. The garden is a prime location for mosquitoes to populate. In addition, the garden did not have educational information on gardening. So how did I solve the root causes? I donated a bench with back and arms, as well as 2 bat houses. The bat houses are mounted on an extension post that is mounted on a corner fence post at the garden. In addition, I created an educational website about the Berwyn Community Garden and gardening skills for all to enjoy and learn. So materials. So due to the pandemic and supply chain issues, the cost of wood went up substantially. I determined to be more cost effective to buy a bench and bat houses instead of building them. In addition, through my research, I learned it would be better to buy bat houses to eliminate any possibility of bats rejecting the bat houses due to my lack of experience in building them.
Really good call.
I forgot to take a picture of the bench when I delivered it to the garden. So this picture is representative of the bench that I donated. This is essentially what it looks like. The bench is made of sustainable wood and meant for outdoor use. This picture was taken before it was mounted at the garden. As you can see, both bat houses are mounted at the top of the extension post. The extension post is made of cedar wood. On February 24th, the bat houses were mounted to the corner fence post at the garden. These pictures are the ones I took of that day. It stands about 16 feet tall. And
Nice.
So now about my website.
Oh,
A lot of transitions.
Yeah.
Oh.
oops, there we go. Oops, sorry, I went ahead. My fault. There we go.
So when you go to my website, you are first brought to the homepage. Here I give a little information about my project and pictures of the bench and bat houses. And then when you click on the homepage, there's underlined blue text labeled Berwyn Community Garden, or you can click the drop down on home at the top. You are brought to the next page, and this is about the garden itself. I added a link to the website and pictures I took at the garden. The next page, benefits of gardening, is where I talk about the reasons why someone should pick up gardening as a hobby. I also added in reasons why someone should apply for a plot at the garden at the bottom, where like you can see like picture of like at the garden. How to garden is another page I added to my website. I talk about the tools someone may need and the steps someone should go through. Tips for beginners. Some of these tips I got through my research, and some are from Deborah Wolf, who is a gardener herself. This page links to 2 other pages, bird and bat houses and companion gardening or planting. First, bird and bat houses. Well, I didn't add bird houses to the garden. I thought it was important to talk about. I added information on why someone should include these in their garden, as well as installation. There's also links to more information. Finally, my last page, companion planting. I learned a lot about this in my research, and I talk about the benefits of it here. All of the pages include a sources section when necessary. So how did I get the word out? On January 27 and 29 of this year, my project advisor and a Girl Scout parent posted information about my project to the Berwyn Neighbors Connect Facebook group. These are the posts, like screenshots of the posts. And I received positive feedback on my project. I also posted flyers with QR code to my website at a few different locations. For example, on February 6th, I posted a flyer at the kiosk at the garden. On February 20th, I also, I delivered a flyer to the Berwyn Public Library, and they posted it on their bulletin board by the entrance. That same day, they also posted the pictures on their Facebook page. And then on February 27th, my flowers posted on the Town of Berwyn Selectmen bulletin board. And then this is a screenshot of the Berwyn Community Garden page on the town website. And if you want to learn more about applying for a plot or the garden rules and regulations, you can refer to the links at the circle links at the bottom. And there are so many people who helped me and supported me throughout my project. In particular, I would like to thank my parents, Armin Wolf, Julianne Burdick, Deborah Wolf, and the Berwyn Community Garden, Dee Green, Sarah Foster, Berwyn Selectmen, and the Town of Berwyn. Thank you again.
Oh, nice
Very
job.
nice job.
Very nice.
Well, I can tell you as a gardener down there, your bench will be well used. People are even bringing chairs down because when you're down there weeding and you gotta stand up and you gotta sit down, it's nice to have that. So thank you. I will be trying it out in a couple months when I go down there planting plot 27. And it's nice because there's a lot of people that are coming from the apartments that don't know how to garden. There was one woman that told me that I should only water the plants at the bottom and not on the top, and I wanted to say, well, what happens when it rains? But I didn't, so the more the education that you're giving, it's going to help them understand what they're doing about invasive things that they should not be planting. And when all the bugs run around the garden, you gotta go down and spray. So that information will come in quite handy, I'm sure. Deb has like a little meeting session with us before we open the garden, so I can probably guarantee that you will be pointing out your sites often to people. So
Yes.
thank you.
Did you
Welcome.
have to do a lot of research on bats and where to put the bat houses or anything?
Yeah, so like I already kind of knew that like bats ate mosquitoes, but there's like specific things that like about installation, how like they like how it's better not to put on trees and better to put like on side of houses or like on posts, because like then like predators can't like get to them.
Well, I guess
there
I'll
anything
have
else?
to move mine then.
I mean, it works, but like
I
it's
was
not
wondering
like,
about that. Very, very nice. We have a little something here.
That's, I again, congratulations on working to the Gold Award. As an Eagle Scout myself, I've always wished the Gold Award got as much public recognition as the Eagle Scouts do, because I think it is as hard to get an as prestigious award as any Eagle Scout out there. So I congratulate you on putting through the perseverance, getting through all of that. And again, I'm quite serious. My Eagle Scout has opened doors to me much of my life. It will open doors to you and will serve you well.
And you're in a dying breed. There really aren't that many girls that are in Girl Scouts anymore. I was one, believe it or not. But I know, look where I am today. But no, it's a wonderful, wonderful organization to belong to. The friends that you make there are probably the friends that you're gonna have truly for a lifetime. I still keep in contact with mine. And actually, the woman across the street, Mrs. Nelson, was my Girl Scout leader way too many years ago, but that's the bond that she and I will always have. So it's a very cool thing to be a Girl Scout.
And where's 5302 based? What town is it? What town is your meetings in?
oh, Hudson.
So we have a citation that we'd like to read to you and give to you. Whereas the Berlin Select Board takes this opportunity to recognize Larissa Granger, and whereas Larissa has been a member of the Girl Scouts for 13 years, and whereas the highest achievement a Girl Scout can work toward is the Gold Award, which must include at least 80 hours of work, and whereas the Gold Award requires a senior or ambassador Girl Scout to create a take action project that requires leadership, root cause, sustainable, measurable, and national and/or global link elements. And whereas Larissa's Gold Award project has lasting benefits not only for the town of Berlin, but far-reaching benefits beyond the greater community. And whereas Larissa has demonstrated enthusiasm in her commitment to her community and the steps required to achieve the Girl Scout Award, now therefore be it resolved that the Select Board of the Town of Berlin recognize Larissa Granger for her outstanding achievement of obtaining the Girl Scout Gold Award. And it's signed by all three of us. Want to do a little picture? Why don't we, do you want us up front here?
Do you want to stand in between the flags? So just push your chairs in.
And do the parents want to come up too for the photo op?
Yeah.
I'll take the picture.
Oh, you get in the middle. You get stuck in the middle.
Well, she has to work it out. I don't want to continue to cross my body.
Oh, she's got the important.
Sorry.
Well,
Oh.
here, I'm gonna give this to you. You can hold it up as we.
Oh, okay.
We'll take it.
Well, we'll get one of us and then we'll get one with the.
All right, come over.
Just squeeze in a little.
Yeah.
All of it's in our plans.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
All right.
Okay,
Okay,
come on.
careful cord.
Yeah, careful, cord. Oh.
We don't wanna, there you go.
It's wide open.
Yeah,
Although I'll be
Here,
out
you
of
can stand
town.
here.
yes, I know, and I'll be like Scott to go my
Okay,
court.
that's good.
Does it work? Isn't it when you use the-
Yep.
1, 2.
Oh. And as soon as
Thank
you
you
post
very
this, I'll
much.
cross
Thank you very much.
post it as
Best
well.
wishes.
Hey, good job, and if you ever wanna come down the garden, just look for me.
Yeah.
Okay. You'll have to help me out of the gate, cause sometimes it blocks me. I figure out how to get back out, so. You may earn another reward, you know, getting the selectmen out of the fence, so just saying. What are the comments back there?
You're
Come
welcome.
on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
Look
thanks
at
for
all
being with
those
us this week.
patches on
That was our
that
executive
desk.
session.
Look
I
at
used to
those.
have a sash. That would have been so much easier than the ones that used to go like this, that you had to.
Well,
Do those?
you only had one patch, so.
I had a lot more than one. Come on. It was a big one.
Our job as troop leaders to fill that vest.
Oh,
Yes.
well, you are well on your way, young lady. Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
Good job. Nice to meet you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Fred, you got big shoes to fill. I don't know how you're gonna match that.
That's right, because the general.
Oh.
Well, we're gonna do the general department update highway first.
Mike's like, nah, 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 nah.
I had my go around last week.
Hey, I was nice to you. Mhm. And I will always be nice to you.
Yeah. This month, even though it was busy for us, it was really kind of uneventful. It was just an expensive one. So truck number 24, Tommy's truck.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing to do with the way it was operated. So one of the carrier bolts inside the rear end had broken and got kicked around a bit and eventually ended up between the main chuck. So we had pulled that out, reached out to a company to see, can we have it rebuilt? What do we have to do with it? It ended up being a 2004 truck. The rear end was discontinued. So he had to research and find the parts, which I think that's what jacked the price up. But to the tune of just over 6,000, 6,300 or something like that, we got the truck fixed. The downside was we were down that truck for 2 storms. But we kind of made it work with the pickup truck with the drop-in sander. It just took a little extra work. Got a little creative, but it worked. And at the same time, my old truck 23 needed rear brakes done. So Chris was driving that until we got Tommy's truck out of the shop so we can bring that one in. And that was to the tune just over $2,000. And on the day of what was supposed to be the major nor'easter, truck 30 ended up having issues with the connectors for the cables for the valve body. So there was between 8 and 10 connectors that had to be removed, rerouted, and put together. So that was a late night for Jim. He came back and stayed to finish it to make sure that it was going to be ready for that 3-inch storm that we got. So that's what made it an expensive one for us. Also during the month, we were able to get out doing our trees again. We stopped just short of a full week cutting trees. We're back at it again today. So eventually we're going to get a handle on it. We're on the east end of town now, Gates Pond Road area, trying to address the ones. It just would have been nice if we had the extra 10 feet when the truck was bought. I reached out to our tree guy, Go Tree, because we were approached today of a trio of oaks on Summer Road that are going to need attention, and they're well over 80 feet tall. So I'm going to be meeting with him Thursday, have him take a look at it, see if it's something he's going to do with his bucket truck, or if he's going to bring the saw truck. The saw truck costs way too much, but if it's the safest way to get them to the ground, that's our tree budget. But we've been fortunate. We've only called him out twice this year. So we still have enough to cover if we have to have the big truck come out. And then the rest of the month, obviously, we're catching up on the potholes. Crosby Road's really taking a beat now that it's the detour route.
Right.
So they've been trying to keep up with that route, especially that road. And then now that a lot of the snow is gone, we've been able to get out and pick up some of the brush that was snow covered. Try to clean up the edge of the roads. I think two, almost 2.5 of the routes are done. Uh, So we'll see if it's not raining too hard tomorrow. We probably won't cut trees, but we could probably get back out doing that. It's pretty much sums up our month.
Okay,
Um, yeah.
questions?
So how is it sharing the bucket truck with Clinton? Are we using it more? Are they using it more?
Oh.
Split?
No, we're definitely like, 97%. They,
So they don't have a need, or are they just gonna come and say, this
Well-
is our truck for the next 6 months?
well, no, so they use it primarily for banners. When we all took our initial training to get certified for the truck, one of the guys there approached me and said, I don't trust my guys with a chainsaw on the ground. I'm not gonna put them in a bucket with a chainsaw. So they haven't yet taken it for a tree maintenance. Actually, they're gonna be taking it sometime this week for a couple hours to take a few banners down.
Oh,
That's
I
the
see.
extent of their
Those kind of
use.
banners, yep,
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
I honestly think it's a little overkill for banners, but somehow they make it work.
Yeah.
Um, We've tried it out in the apparatus bay here, dealing with the birds, and it's tough. So I don't know how they do banners. I'm grateful that they don't borrow it, because then it's free for any day, we want to take it.
And you've got that housed at the,
Yeah,
Okay.
we house it primarily.
right, okay.
I didn't realize that last year around budget season, when the account was created for, like the shared expense, I thought at that time money was put into it. I found out when I got it inspected that no, the $100 sticker comes out of your budget because there's no money in that account. So after this budget season, we'll have money, because we have to have it, tested this year
Oh,
around.
okay. Mhm.
So, but yeah, it's kind of rough at first. Eventually, I'd like to reach out to them and see if they'd be willing to split the cost of the hydraulic pole saw that can go on it. Like you see, probably some of the other tree companies have, it mounts right to the boom, operated at the bucket. It only gives you an extra 6 feet, but on a day like today, 6 is better than not having it.
Do you have any, I mean, with all the issues that you're running into, with the trucks, and I didn't look at the capital budget, so apologies. Do you have any capital equipment, new trucks coming up, or trucks that are becoming just too old that you're going to need to replace?
Well, actually, yes. So eventually, our basin truck is a 1976. It's our Spirit of 76. Last year was the last year we were told we can get an inspection sticker on it. So that is actually expiring in March. So after March, the truck won't be any use for us.
What's the basin truck do?
It just goes around and cleans catch basins.
Ah, okay.
And the hard part that I'm finding is with the cost of that truck new, I can't justify coming to the town saying, I need over $80,000, $100,000 for a truck that we use twice a year for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. So I know Clinton, I have their specs on it. They have one that's mounted on a pickup truck frame. Because lately we haven't been getting a lot out of them, so it's hard to justify a 6-wheel version of it. But if they could make it into a roll-off type unit where you could buy a truck and then you could have a flatbed put on it, if you get a day, you can haul this thing back up on it and go out and clean the basins. I wouldn't have that much of a problem. But right now it's to the point where, I'm gonna reach out to a company, because I know Lancaster, they subcontract them out. But it's getting an actual number, how many we have, how much it's gonna cost for them to come in and do it, versus how much is a new truck gonna cost and how many years can we get out of it.
And how often do you clean the basins in town?
It's usually spring and fall, but where we haven't been using much sand, the spring, we don't really do the spring, so most of the time now, they're coming down to being leaf collectors. But yeah, so that's the hard part, and the only other truck that's almost due is the old service truck. I believe that's around in 2009. So, but that one's still working, so it's not really on the close horizon.
Alright. Any major challenges that you see for your department coming up?
Well, as it gets warmer, yeah, I mean, we're gonna have, it's not so much a staffing shortage, it's getting people to move with a purpose. to get more work done. Because we still have the list of things that we put together for last year that weren't done, you know, i.e. the pipe job. So we have that one, we have one on Allen Road to do, we have one on Lancaster Road to do as well. On top of our road project. You know, at some point I still had to get out and measure the roads and start figuring that and reach out to Mass Broken and set that up. I'm sure you know, we were awarded 500,000 for complete streets. So that's gonna be a project in the works coming up. So it's just gonna be, there's a lot of stuff that's gonna be happening. That, you know, I may not be able to be out with the guys that day, but I still expect the work to get done. So.
Okay.
But yeah, no challenges really.
That's all I got from Mr. Fred.
Did we ever get the weather stripping on the highway barn?
No. So that is still, I would think that grown men would be able to connect easier than what they have. We even tried the Zoom call to get everyone on board. So we're still in the phone call, phone tag stage, emails back and forth. Worcester River Head Door, the gentleman we were dealing with for the most part, has now pushed me off to a different guy in a different department. And it's like, why is this so hard?
Can't you just
and-
drive there, drive to whoever you need to talk to?
Well, I can, but
He may
will
not.
he still have the information? Because the last request was, what do you have from Cloplay that we can install right now? Well, let me find out and I'll get back to you.
Mm,
No,
Follow up after follow up, you know, do you have it? When can I expect it? What's going on with it? Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah,
I never realized it would be so hard. This is like going on a 3-year project.
Okay,
Thanks, Mr. Fred.
yep, thanks
all
for
right.
trying at least.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
That's it?
Yep,
That's it.
Thanks.
I had my share.
Oh,
Yeah, I
Oh,
did.
okay.
You better go.
just in case.
And now we're gonna have a discussion on phase 2 of public safety radio project.
Speaking of really cool projects, it takes forever to get over the finish line.
Yeah. Oh, wait till you see the question that I have for you tonight.
Mm-hmm. Boy,
All right, Eric should be on Zoom as well.
oh, okay.
He was an
Is he an
attendee.
attendee?
He was an attendee of that.
There he is.
Hi, good evening. I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Eric. I don't know if they can't hear us.
Okay.
That's weird.
Yeah.
We might have lost sound with them.
That's right, we've not had someone on the, up there
Yet.
yet speak.
Well,
Can you hear us, Scott?
you were up there.
Oh,
No,
that was
it's
weeks ago,
tonight.
not tonight.
with
No,
the
not
issues.
tonight.
Huh. I guess I'll keep talking until maybe you can hear me.
I know, I can hear
I don't
you.
think Brittany's next door.
Yeah, because we're
My-
both on
my-
the Zoom,
Oh,
so we
Roger's
can
there.
hear each other.
It must be the volume on the laptop in
Yeah.
there.
Well, no, it's hooked in through the TV because it's hybrid.
Oh. Wonder if the TV's muted.
Let me text. No, it's usually something that the
Technology is
cable
not been
access
good
has to
us
do.
tonight.
Mhm.
Oh, that's not good.
It's always a learning curve.
Oh, let's see.
Is Lily here? Is she home?
She's at home.
I was spying in the truck when I left the reading the other day. She was zonked, sitting in the back seat.
She was.
I'm like,
One of the young boys was at the school. I brought him out and she went to jump out of the car and she was still groggy trying to wake up, so she almost fell out, just trying to wake up so she could come out and say hi to him. Yeah, she was comfortably sleeping.
she's a good dog.
She is.
I'm trying again to see if you can hear us. It's gonna be a no.
You realize we're not gonna be able to bring up Eric, so this is all gonna be on you.
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting.
Apparently Roger is calling Brittany.
Well,
Might have to bring him in on speakerphone here. I can go over part of the project. I'm just not sure for the financial background, if you will, and where we came from. As far as what we have, but I know since coming here, this was kind of something we were trying to get over the finish line to, it was a work in progress type of thing. And we've had some equipment for a while that we've been trying to replace, being that, I guess phase one, which is the antennas, and some of the cabling that we had. And we were finally able to get the tower company involved to start doing that. So they should be finishing up, actually, hopefully that part is going to finish up in the next week. And then one of the companies that I've used quite frequently throughout my career and stuff, called Two Way Communications. We kind of brought them in because they tend to, they know the radio language, but they tend to talk, if you will, layman's terms pretty well with us to explain us to what we're doing. And one of the big things that happened is we had the failure with the police department where they kind of lost the radio communications on the Gates Pond Road and River Road area of town. So they came in and kind of looked at what we had and the legacy equipment that we had, which they were kind of surprised that we still had some of that, because they were like, we haven't seen this in years. So I think you guys got a packet of stuff that Eric had forwarded through that kind of goes over what this next phase is going to cover. And that's kind of modernizing what we have to bring up to what, which is the public safety network that does both analog and digital radio waves, if you will. And to kind of keep that into layman's term, it's kind of going from an old flip phone that, we used to have with that analog technology, going to what we use today with the Apples and the Android phones. That's that instant text messaging, and the message comes through and it's clear. And by upgrading the system with the equipment that we have, right now, we have 2 sites in town that we use, one on Coburn Road, one on Taylor Road. And the way that those kind of work right now is that it's what we call a voter system, where it grabs the most clear message that it can get and tries to put together the message to send back out to everybody else. With going with this new technology, what it'll do is it'll instantaneously take both, if you will, radio transmissions from both towers and merge them into one. And it does it almost instantaneously, as opposed to over a 5-second period. So it becomes more, it becomes very quick, and it's the modern technology that we're talking about that brings us up to today. So that was kind of, if you will, you had a equipment list and a little diagram that showed you the kind of what was going to be at each tower site to make it to upgrade it to that tower system, so that it'll be a receive and a transmit site for us. Do we bring Eric in by chance, or? Okay, nope.
I'm here, if you can hear
Oh,
me.
hey, we can hear you now.
Oh, look at that. All right, so what Mike said is pretty, it's absolutely accurate. We've been working on this. We've had a radio issue for at least 10 years, if not longer. Two Way has come in, and Mike and I have worked with them over the last month or so. This project started at $362,000, I believe, and we get it now down to $260,000, which is well within the budget that we have for monies left over from the Rockwell donation. And we're just waiting on the phase 3 project money from the government, which, as soon as they sign their budget for next year, we get another $400,000 to upgrade the south side of town.
No, I think
No,
we just stopped talking.
Was the end, at least the end of a sentence that we lost. Where else do we have POTS lines? In town?
You mean the dead spots?
No, POTS lines are the copper phone lines that the
Oh.
technology was phased out years ago and it's
Yes.
the end of life.
I believe, I know they're at Taylor Road. We have 2 of them up there. And I'm not sure if we have them at Coburn Road or not. Eric, do you know?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And so this will get rid of all the remaining POTS lines.
Yes.
there and in this building, and we don't have them anywhere else, right?
Correct. This one. Oh, go ahead.
On phase 3, we'll get rid of the copper lines from Taylor Road to the building. The phase 2, we're going to be able to get rid of the copper lines from Taylor Road to Framingham, back to Berlin to Neshoba. It's going to be it's not gonna be till we finish the entire project, we can get rid of all the copper, but we get rid of half of it, with this phase.
There's also the fiber that's coming in as part of the school project too, that's coming directly to the municipal offices that I don't know if we've mentioned before.
No, that's basically the school project's gonna allow us to tie into that fiber line, which will give us that back haul to the system so that we can use fiber and direct radio waves with the microwave links and stuff. So the fiber will become our backup or our primary, depending on, where we're located.
If I may. continue.
Yes.
The data you're transmitting both over the air and over these wires are gonna be encrypted in transit.
I don't believe that's gonna happen until after phase 3 that we have the availability to do that. But Eric, are we looking at doing any encryption?
I wasn't looking at doing any encryption.
Okay, it wasn't anything that I was looking at for the encryption. We do have the capabilities of doing that, but it wasn't anything we were looking to institute at this time.
But even in the case, it wouldn't be in phase 2, even if you were tempted, because I think that with the amount of private data that you folks are talking about over the radios, that
Yep.
encryption is going to be important, and more, I believe more and more police and fire departments are going for encryption for the radio transmissions.
That is something that is happening, is we're seeing a higher rate of that occurring. The one thing that we do have that is a benefit to us that we can encrypt is using the MDTs, the mobile data terminals in the apparatus. That allows us to share information with dispatch that can be at least encrypted or at least protected from a CJIS standpoint, and also from a HIPAA standpoint, so that it's not going out over the airwaves, and we're not sharing that with the general public, but we're able to share it with the first responders. So this enhances that, especially with that fiber connectivity that we'll have, that we'll be able to do that.
Okay, I'll ask more about encryption when we get to phase 3, since that's not on the table at the moment.
Yep.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah,
Craig?
of course I do.
Okay.
You had talked, you and Eric had talked earlier about looking for something on the other side of town, being somewhere near the community garden.
Yep.
Because right now you have Coburn and you have Taylor, and then you seem to have like a big chunk that's not supported, and there was talk about maybe an antenna on the hotel.
Yep.
So any updates on that?
Yeah, it looks like the antenna on the hotel is an option for us that we were able to use two-way. It wasn't something that initially we thought was going to work, because we weren't going to get the height on it. Two-way was able to actually come in and look at that and put it down onto their mapping system they have. And an antenna on that would give us direct line of sight to both Taylor and to Coburn Road, which would complete the system for us. So it would actually cover that area very well for us.
In looking at the drawings, the antenna looks very interesting. Are there any issues that you foresee, like the one on page 13? Are there any issues that you foresee with neighbors not in my backyard with a giant antenna with big white discs on them that people are going to have concerns about?
Let me just jump to page 13 and
Yep.
take a look at that.
It says Astro G series site, and it's got, it looks very cool, but I'd be thinking as a neighbor to this, or someone who can see it, what are there going to be concerns? Because you always get I don't want a cell tower in my backyard, but I want to use my cell phone.
Right. Oh, that one with the white microwaves that are sitting
Yeah.
on top of it. Yeah, I think that is going to be a tower that's going to be our Coburn Road or Taylor Road tower site. I'm not sure that the one at the hotel will look like that. I think the one at the hotel will be more, it'll be a smaller, kind of like a monopole that goes up that's much smaller. Eric, I don't know if you can speak to that any clearer than I did.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it looks like the Dish Network satellite. It's nothing big. I think it's about 18 inches around, and there'll be a 6-foot stick with a dual Omni antenna. So it'll be one antenna versus two antennas that will take in both our frequencies. So it'll actually probably look cleaner than what's up there right now.
So, interestingly enough, on the news today, came through, 4 men dressed as utility workers try to steal wire from West Boylston Tower.
I saw that.
So given this, they claimed that they were Verizon contractors, and it came through from the Telegram and Gazette, so I'm not making it up. Security now gonna be part of this, what you're going to do to try and prevent
Right now, we have them, there are gates that are locked that get in there, both from the road and then when you get up to the actual tower sites, we have, locks that are on the gates as well. And I believe the one on Taylor Road actually it has some, razor wire at the top of it too, to prevent people from climbing over. I'm not sure if the Coburn Road site has any alarm systems on it that go into the, cell phone providers that are there that'll alert them that there's somebody in there. That is where our equipment is located. Taylor Road might take a little bit more for us to fortify that, if you will, but there will be, if you will, things in place that'll let us know when the radio system goes down or if it's being tampered with. That it'll tell us that we've just lost the signal or that there is some type of interference that's going on with it.
And then there are other towns around us that are using the same services for their towers as well.
I'm not sure immediately around us. I know this was something that we did. This was very similar to what happened when I was in Londonderry in charge of the communication system there. We used the same type of system going in to be able to put in the duplexers and the primary radio sites at each one that were shared by police and fire. So it's a similar build to what's going on in other communities that I'm aware of. I just don't know if anybody down here is using these.
Right, but this is compatible with the Neshoba dispatch. This will make.
Yes.
working with them easier than it is even now.
Yes, it will.
Yeah, that was one of our issues. We had to make it compatible because say 3 years from now, the Neshoba Dispatch gets a 911 grant or state grant to replace radios. Last thing I want to do is waste $260,000 on a system that's going to be torn out and replaced 3 years from now. And if we went analog, that would have happened.
In time frame ish?
If you approve it tonight, 12 weeks.
Yeah.
And again,
It could be as short as 8 weeks, but he said 8 to 11 weeks. So I'd say 12 weeks, we could be up.
and again, we talked about a little bit, another tower near the hotel is not part of this phase 2. That would still be.
Phase 3,
that would be
correct.
Phase 3. then.
Yep. This particular project, and Eric, you're gonna have to speak to the percentages, but I think this is gonna bring us to almost like a 70% coverage in the town, where the phase 3 will bring us to the 95%.
Yeah, high 70, 78 percentile, I think. I think right now, on a good day, we're right around 50.
Yeah.
And Eric, you said that this money, the 260K ish will come from the 400,000 you got from Rockwell?
350, yeah. Yeah, we spent 10,000 on a mobile repeater a few years back. And then the antennas we spent 30,000 on, plus the labor we're gonna have the next couple days to transfer the new antennas over. I think we're gonna be right around 280-ish.
You can still ask some more questions. I'm ready to make a motion to approve proceeding with phase 2 as outlined.
Agreed, I'll second.
Okay. If there's nothing further, then we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you
Makes
very
me
much.
excited.
Right, thank you very much.
Look forward to phase 3.
Yeah,
Right.
I can tell you this is very exciting just for the crews, just because this has been such an ongoing problem. They're kind of still a little shell shocked that in 12 weeks they might actually have
Right.
the improvements and stuff. So thank you guys very much on their behalf. It makes a huge difference.
We appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks, Chief.
Appreciate your hard work.
Bye, Eric.
Thank you.
And we are moving on to the town administrator report.
Okay, can you hear me?
It could be louder,
Could be louder. Okay, let me get closer. How's that?
a little better.
Okay. So, FinCom, as I had mentioned, has concluded their budget hearings with the exception of the Berlin Boylston Regional School District, which will take place this Wednesday, March 6th at 7:40 p.m.
Does that mean we just lost her?
I think so.
Sorry.
Uh-oh.
Let me do that again.
Probably still giving her speech.
She probably is.
Yeah.
She should be there now.
That was a great presentation, Kristen. Thank you.
Thank you.
We lost you at PM.
Are you
Oh,
there?
she's muted.
Oh, you're here. Okay, sorry. I didn't realize I was muted when I came back on. I got demoted then promoted, so I'm getting whiplash here.
Yeah, we had we've been having little technology issues tonight.
That's okay. Not a problem at all. Let's see. So I made it through the first sentence, it sounds like.
Yeah, we got you. We picked up the M on your 7:30 on Wednesday night.
PM.
Yeah, for PM.
Excellent. Excellent, excellent. I am pleased to report that I do have a balanced budget that I talked to FinCom about last Wednesday, and I will be presenting to the select board this evening. Animal control and animal inspector services. We are trying to figure out exactly what we're doing with regard to animal control services because our ACO, who has been wonderful and we would very much like to keep, is in a full-time agreement with Littleton, Stowe, and Boxborough. And that agreement does require her to be on call 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And it sounds like the communities weren't really enforcing that before, but now they're about to renew their intermunicipal agreement with her, and they're going to prohibit her from doing work outside of the intermunicipal agreement. However, the good news is that they're interested in adding Berlin and potentially 3 other towns to the agreement effective July 1. The problem with that is the cost, which is estimated to be about 18 to 22,000 per year. That does include a cell phone, vehicle, benefits, and kenneling. Ms. Tower is an employee of Boxborough, so she actually gets benefits from that town. And we're just waiting to kind of see. They're in the process of talking to a few other communities to try to nail this down, and I'll be back with some more information on this. However, Phyllis has agreed to remain take on our animal inspector services effective May 1st. Those will remain separate. Those are not part of this intermunicipal agreement with other communities. And that cost increase for the animal inspector services is a mere $975 per year, largely in a little bit of increase on the expense side for mileage. COA Director Victoria Flynn St. Coren asked me if I could mention the COVID clinic that will be held on Thursday, April 4th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the Northbrook 2 Common Room. Priority is given to those ages 60 and over. Please contact her at 978-310-5914 to register for the clinic. I am working on the BMS lease. We did receive it back from town council, and I hope to be able to bring it forward to the select board at their meeting on next Monday. We are still meeting with the Berlin Boylston group to discuss the regional school budget and exchange information, make sure everyone's on the same page. That has just been proving to be beneficial from an information sharing standpoint. Also had a very interesting meeting with representatives from the Solomon Pond Mall, the Marlborough Chamber of Commerce, and Marlborough's mayor, who's new, along with Tim Wheeler and Peter Hoffman, to discuss zoning changes to the mall's overlay district and potential future development opportunities as they dovetail with Marlborough's Donald Lynch Boulevard corridor plan. So basically that corridor plan proposes updated zoning, and they're asking the Berlin Planning Board to review our zoning and note any difference in uses so we can have redevelopment and new development discussions along that area by the mall. So we are at the beginning phases of talking about what else can be done to revitalize the Solomon Pond Mall, which is a great discussion to be having. The school committee met Tuesday night and briefly discussed the FY25 budget, and they also came to Thursday's capital meeting to discuss their capital requests, but the capital planning committee has requested additional information and will meet again possibly this Thursday if they have the information that they need. I did meet with the chair of the Board of Health, who requested assistance with a number of items. I did let him know that should the board want me to take on this work, we'll have to have that conversation because obviously there's the budget, the warrant, my FY24 goals, procurements coming up. So we'll have to try to figure out where that fits into FY25 goals, which I presume we'll be starting to talk about soon. I was very happy to accept an invitation to attend Community Reading Day at Berlin Memorial School and got to read to a lovely second grade class, which was great. And in terms of other upcoming items that are not on my current goals, but what I would like to discuss with the board, I've been receiving a lot of outreach from 19 Carter regarding forming a new 1870 Town Hall Committee. I would like to discuss this with the select board on a future agenda after town meeting. And that's all I have for you.
Okay. I just have one question. How is one person going to be the ACO and the animal inspector for like 5 towns?
It's a good question. So because it's a call, it's an on-call situation, and she does have a backup person, and that actually, believe it or not, is her husband, who is a fully certified animal control officer as well, that assists her with paperwork and can also be a backup if there were multiple calls to come in at the same time. Believe it or not, our call volume is the same as these other communities. We're very close to. They're running around 130 calls a year. We're running around 115. So, she believes that she can do it, and this would be her sole focus. She's doing it now. She just has essentially side agreements with the other communities, which, obviously doesn't work very well when you have a full-time on-call agreement, because then the issue of, prioritization does come into play. So far, it hasn't been an issue, but I can understand the communities that have this agreement that would want to have the priority.
Yeah, I think they would probably be, the other towns would be worried about her being able to spend any time in their town if, they're adding additional towns.
Yeah, but 115 calls a year is less than, it's like
Yeah.
2 a
One
week.
every 3 days.
Yeah, 1 every 3 days, so 2 a week, and if there's 7 towns, even you multiply that, that's still not even guaranteeing 2 a day. And someone who runs a department that, not animal control stuff, but has varied stuff, you're right, that means that someday there'll be 6 and 4 days there'll be nothing, but.
The animal inspector has to go in through every facility.
Yes.
Yeah, and so we might have to try to find someone else. for
And that
animal
might be
inspector.
why our calls are almost very similar to,
What-
say, a larger town.
Our calls are animal control, animal inspectors is a different position.
Right, I'm
She'd still be
talking
on
about the
side.
animal control.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, it just
We'll probably have
sounds
a
like,
hard time for $900 finding someone to do what
Mhm.
is necessary, but.
Right.
animal Control, animal inspections, thank you. See, even I get it.
That's mostly the barn
Yeah.
inspection for animal inspector, so that's why that's so inexpensive.
well, I can understand why our numbers are so high. Maybe some of the other towns don't have a lot of chickens and sheep and,
Exactly. It's a
Right.
livestock issue. Yep. And
okay.
yeah, so we'll continue to have those conversations, and certainly we'll bring it back to the board once we have a proposal.
Okay, it is on the agenda tonight. That's why I didn't know.
The animal inspector pieces, which would be separate from the animal control officer.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Other questions?
The comment about the Board of Health and providing some staff to them brings back, and again, not to be solved tonight, but we're looking more, is that there are a series of town employees that don't report directly or even indirectly to the town administrator. That's correct?
Yes.
And that has led to some weirdness when it comes to both supervision and support, both to the boards that have that staffing and that individuals as well. We could look during goals, how we start bringing more of those people sort of into a chart of accounts or our chart supervisory chart that somehow includes you in it.
I would really like to see moving forward for many reasons, mostly HR, liability, legal reasons, that employees be consolidated under the select board, under the day-to-day auspices of the town administrator, because you just have somebody now at the town administrator level who is able to oversee and is there and able to make sure that employees are following all of those rules and regulations that some of the boards and committees may not understand. And from what I'm hearing, some of them don't want to deal with the HR, and I end up getting involved in that piece anyways, which is fine. I just think it would make more sense to formalize, particularly the HR and the day-to-day, under my offices, because there is often a conflict between, can someone come to me and, well, no, you got to go to your board. Well, the board says, well, no, what does the town administrator say? And it becomes sort of difficult to draw that line sometimes as to who can make the decision.
Well, and I also just worry, as I've shared as an example before, nothing would stop Board X from, who does the hiring right now for a position they supervise, to write a discriminatory job description or discriminatory ad that says, person of X can't apply, that would open the town up to some legal shenanigans or legal actions that we would not, as select board, have the ability to stop.
Correct. And that's really what I'm worried about, is safeguarding the town, from that instance or other instances where there's that knowledge base on HR, mass general law, procurement we run into, making sure that everything gets processed through, sort of a central source. So that way we can make sure everything's being followed properly to the letter of mass general law.
Right.
It's certainly not that I want more employees to supervise, but I just think it safeguards the town, when you have somebody who's there 50 or 60 hours a week, as opposed to a volunteer board or committee that might meet once or twice a month. It does present some challenges.
Kristen, on the 6 line items that the Board of Health gave you, did they indicate any type of priority, or was it just like a dump of, hey, we need help with these issues?
They kind of went down the line and said those were all the issues that they needed some help with. The first one, I know that the internet, they've been having a really hard time connecting with Starlink, and I know they've done a lot of research on their own. They're only volunteers. That's where it gets difficult too. And they only have, I think, a 5-hour a week admin person. So, I know the internet is a priority. The others, let me go back and look at I'm trying to think I just closed the report. Sorry, that was my mistake.
I mean, there's really nothing new. I mean, the internet has been an issue. The septic system issue and capacity, the 1870, has been kicked down the road multiple times. 1870 committee, that's kind of sort of new, not really. Solar on the landfill, reviewing work to be done at the Bullet House, been kicked down the road. So, but out of those, were there any priority given to them to say,
No.
I really need you to work on?
I think the internet and the hoarding case were certainly top of the priority. I think Bullard House was up there too. I think ultimately these are all valuable or valid concerns that need to be addressed. The problem is trying to fit them in with finishing out all of the ARPA projects and the procurements and everything else. And we just have to talk about how to get them in, fit them in rather, with everything else. So, I did recommend on the internet to see if the admin could make any headway on that with their Board of Health admin. I could certainly assist with the hoarding case and getting, them connected to the right people in town, which is likely Council on Aging and Fire Department. And that is not a huge time suck. I know that there's been a lot of talk about the Bullard House and, making sure that we look at a plan that's a bit more comprehensive. And I have been meeting with June Miller all along to have those conversations. Nothing of specific priority. I mean, 1870, I keep getting a lot of people coming my way, and I would certainly like to explore how to increase use there.
Right, I mean, we can tackle them, you know, as long as nothing's like critical on fire, you know.
No, I think probably just the internet and the hoarding are the most critical that I would start to work on right away.
Okay,
And Kristen, I just sent you a link to potentially other satellite providers, because the Starlink is not the only provider out there, so if they're proving hard to reach, their competitors are probably more than willing to jump in and steal business away from them.
Oh, excellent, because I know Paul McKelk,
Yep.
we tried to get a W-9 from them and he said because we don't pay taxes, and the person on the other end said, well, that's illegal, and hung up on him. So they're not used to working with cities and towns.
Right.
So also if you know of a company that, because we have to be billed as opposed to using a credit card. The other issue with Starlink is they don't have a phone number. They only deal with email, and then I think they call you. So it was really difficult to get a hold of them.
The link I sent you is actually from what I consider a trusted third party that rates the quality of satellite internet providers, and so it'll give you a link of several potential vendors to look at.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. If I run across other resources, I'll let you know, but that's what came to mind quickly.
That's great. Thank you very much. It's a great place to
oh, I'm
start.
saving all my questions for the budget.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I'm good otherwise. Thank you, Kristen.
Okay, Kristen, thank you.
You're welcome.
We're moving on to old business and discussing the FY25 budget.
Okay. Let me get
Kristen,
up.
can you share and put it up on the screen?
I sure can. I was just about to do that. Let me get in the right.
We really need to
spot
turn
here.
this table.
Yeah,
Well,
well, at least sideways, maybe.
A
How
little
about
bit.
this way.
A
you'll
little,
get to see the sides of our head as we look up,
I know.
although I also have it in front of me here as
You
well.
can see like any bald spots, grays.
Mhm.
And so it's the yellow we typically try to vote on, including that one. Kristen?
Okay, so sorry, I know this is my confusing way. You're not going to actually vote on the first two pages. You're going to vote on expenditures that are in
Yep.
yellow. On the first two pages, just to make it more confusing, yellow is things that are subject to change because of incoming information. And for example, for other revenue sources, one of the reasons that is subject to change is because we don't have the school capital yet. So that is why the first page is not firm number, is not a firm number. But if you look here, you do have a balanced budget at $16,925,365. That does propose a 2.5% increase in property taxes over last year's raise and appropriate plus new growth of $14,385,498, plus a lower amount this year for new growth as recommended by both the assessor and the building inspector, because we are stagnating on growth, which is something we need to continue to have future conversations about as well. As you can see, I am estimating $100,000 less in new growth as we go into FY25 this year. As we talk about state aid, I know there's a big excitement around state aid that it's unrestricted government general aid is going up by 3%. Well, for us, that's just basically a whopping, $13,000. So it's good that we don't rely heavily on state aid like a lot of communities do. But when it comes to these increases that people think are going to help us substantially, obviously they're not, when a significant portion of our budget does not rely upon state aid or does not rely upon that. I'll show you on the next page, local receipts we are able to go up significantly, largely due to investing in higher yield savings accounts for the $4 million that we moved to Unibank, and the return on that, the return on the savings that we're getting in interest rates there. Offset receipts would be the transfer station. The receipts reserved for appropriation would be ambulance receipts and cemetery. Other revenue sources, we'll get into that in a minute. That's mostly school related. And obligations are typically the debt and what you call the backside of the cherry sheet, where they give us money and take it back. So with that in mind, that creates that total budget of the 16.9 million. And if you look down in the expense roll-up column right now, we are balanced at 16.9 million. Now, if you go to the bottom here, this is how we calculate our levy capacity, and I swear I did not make it calculate that strange number. But under this current budget, which, like I said, will be subject to change slightly once we put in school capital, we have approximately $1,666,434 in excess levy capacity when you do out all the math between what we're allowed to spend and what we actually are spending, otherwise known as the levy limit versus raise and appropriate and our other local receipts and state aid funds that we bring in. Does anyone have any questions on that first page before I move on?
No, I just want to point out that some of us would have to be convinced that low new growth is a bad thing, because with the volume we've grown in town, I'm glad that it is potentially stabilizing at a lower number, and we have some time to catch our breath and upgrade all of our systems to deal with all the new population that growth has brought in.
It is. It's just that there's nothing really on the horizon at all, which is concerning with regard to the fact that costs are continuing to escalate for services that the residents need, with nothing really on the commercial or new growth side to offset it, which means we have to raise and appropriate more as costs continue to rise from residents. So that's my concern on new growth. All right. So just to go over, that was kind of the overview. That breaks down into these categories for state aid. You can see we did, this is the chapter 111 benefits that we get back for the veterans that get a local state summary. We get reimbursed at a 75% rate. And so we're getting back from FY24, estimated $21,000. Our unrestricted general aid itself went up about 10,000. I'm sorry, I got exemptions and benefits mixed up. The first one are the exemptions that we get for vets, the blind, and elderly. The third line are the veterans benefits that we get reimbursed for at 75%, so a little bit lower anticipated revenue on that in FY25. And then the library offset receipts that we get as well brings you to that $291,590 in total state aid. Local receipts are interesting. Motor vehicle excise is up significantly. We were up over $700,000 last year, which makes me comfortable estimating the 685. And when I go back over the past several years, we have been growing every single year in motor vehicle excise. And so those larger housing projects that are down at the Rockwell, Highland Commons, bringing in more vehicles, bringing in more excise tax. So meals tax going down. We lost TGI Fridays, and I don't know when that's going to be replenished. So I am conservatively taking a third off of that amount to, basically just account for that potential significant increase. And hotel tax actually came in a little bit lower than we anticipated. It came in about 220,000. And I asked the question, and it's because sometimes they run specials and rates and promotions, and the room rates do change year over year. And with the hotels in Marlborough being used as shelter for homeless populations, believe it or not, they were running some specials to attract folks here for the sporting events that were at New England Sports Complex. And so that's part of the reason why that amount went down, which is kind of interesting, but still hovering around 220. So I do feel comfortable estimating $200,000 there. Interest on property, real estate, and excise was down a little bit last year, so I'm going down just to be conservative. Payment in lieu of taxes are agreements that we have with other communities. One is with the town of Hudson, I believe, for water, so they pay us instead of paying us taxes, and those are agreements, so they are exact amounts, which is why we're able to exactly account for it. Fees and other charges up slightly. Building permits got pulled out into their own category, which is other departmental has gone down, and it's been about 3,000. This is since they split out building permits from other departmental licenses and permits, and so it looks a little bit funnier than it looked before. But we're at basically $80,000 again for building permits. We're gonna stay steady from this year to last year. We did bring in 180,000 in FY 23, which is about the tail end of Highland Commons, plus what we're going to get in the first part. I'm sorry, Highland Ridge, plus what we're going to get in the first part of 24. So that project is going to be done, and there's nothing coming up in its place. So we feel comfortable staying at the $80,000. The biggest jump on here, as I mentioned before, is the interest on investments going up to the $250,000. And that is because we transferred almost $4 million in stabilization and CPA funds over to a 4.5% high yield savings account at Unibank. Offset and receipts reserved for appropriation, as I said before. Here you'll see my little yellow mark. That is because we don't know free cash yet for BMS and Tohoto Capital. Affordable housing is what we pay we take out of the it's like a mitigation almost fund for housing that the planning board controls that developers have paid into over the years. And then we also have the public safety special stabilization fund. You'll notice this is going down significantly. I am recommending that, given the instability of long-term mitigation funds, and also the fact that one of them is ending this coming fall, that we reduce our dependence on stabilization funding for personnel. And I want to do this incrementally. There are 3 police officers that are funded right now out of public safety's stabilization. And I'm recommending that we fund one of them through the budget this year instead of funding all 3 through public safety stabilization. And I'd recommend we try to do one per year. That would leave that funding still for equipment and other needs on the public safety side, but I generally don't like using quote unquote one-time funds for personnel. It's not really advisable. And I should note that Highland Commons does stamp their payments paid in protest every year when they pay us, and I'm hoping that does not mean they are gearing up to have any type of lawsuit, but you just do not know. That is often what people do when they are doing so, and I just don't want us to be dependent upon those funds and have to do layoffs. So that is my recommendation there. Then we have the charges that the state claws back, including overlay, plus our debt exclusions for Tohoto and the highway barn, and that gives you the more detailed breakout on the revenue. Any questions there?
No, but
No.
from my standpoint, the public safety stabilization for the stuff from the Highland Commons was always designed to be for capital improvements and not personnel. And I think for 10 years, you've been trying to phase out of using it for personnel stuff. And so it'd be nice to see it actually happen at some point.
Excellent. I'm glad we're on the same page there. All right, and then we get down into our expenditures. I hadn't given you guys, or hadn't had an opportunities because I didn't have the school numbers to balance the budget. So I wanted to make sure I gave you the first couple of pages of the budget itself in terms of revenue. Like I said, it is balanced at this time, and anything in blue I am still working on. Anything in yellow I would like to ask the board to vote on, and I will turn it over to you to see if you have any questions on the expenditures.
Okay.
If it is okay for me to sort of take a little control at this point, I think we
Sure.
like doing it. I personally like doing it page by page so that we don't get too many things and forget what we've talked about. So
That's
Take
fine.
it away.
the treasurer tax collector, which is the yellow stuff on page 1. I think we had questions last week related to its long-term sort of structure of that department.
Yep.
I think Peg, you were the one that had the questions. Are there, I mean, Kristen, do you have more? This is looking at sort of a July going forward, correct?
This is July going forward with the assumption that within the next 3 to 6 months, we will have the structure back to the way that it was with a treasurer collector full-time and an assistant treasurer collector full-time. So the goal is to revert the office back to the way that it was. We are just in a transition period right now.
And prior to the transition period, the increase in the base wages for the assistant was a market adjustment.
It was. It looks more, but that's because she was brought in at 55,000. So that is a market adjustment. I did make the one suggestion that we put up to 60,000 in there for that position to give me a little bit of negotiating room should I have to go back out and negotiate for an assistant treasurer collector, because that is a very challenging position to hire for, and it's essentially an assistant department head position.
Okay, questions?
And we tried to
Good.
offset that on the expense side by cutting back
So is
on the
this the
expenses.
page that,
So, Christian, I would, especially things that are not sort of guaranteed to happen, I think that's what reserve funds are for. And so I'd love to see the part-time salary to still be at that, let's say 57 or so, just to give it a round number. And then if you end up having to negotiate to 60, that we do that through a reserve fund transfer.
Okay.
I think it also helps that if someone is going for an accounting and fiscal type job, if they're looking at the budget and see we budgeted 60, it might more encourage them to ask for 60. And I think if they ask for 60 and you say, well, the budget's 57, but I think I can do 58 or 58 and a half, I think it puts you in a better position.
okay,
If that's okay. And so I'd like to make a motion that we approve lines 24 through 27, the treasurer, tax collector, salary, full-time wages, incentive and expenses, with the adjustment of the 60,000 down to 57.
So adjusting line 25 down
25, yep.
to,
By 3,000.
oh, got it. Okay.
and do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye. If you want to go to the next page then, Kristen.
I sure will.
I think the next yellow is under public safety, police salary, police full-time wages and part-time wages. Wages part-time that are separate, that's being zeroed out, and expenses.
That is correct.
Yep.
And so in this one, I do have the recommendation of adding the half-year salary for that 11th officer.
Yep. I'm fine with it as is. I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I'm willing to make the motion to approve those lines 50 through 53.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Christian, you have animal inspector salary on the next page in yellow.
Yes.
As we're still negotiating some of that, is it too early to be passing that one? Do we know what it's gonna look like? Because that's lower than what we look like we might have to do if we join the 7-town collaborative.
So the 7-town collaborative will only deal with animal control issues. It will not address animal inspector.
Right.
Yeah,
Someday
I
the state will let
forgot
us have
about
like
that too.
one job for animals, animal stuff, but yeah, okay, yes, I get that.
We're
Okay.
trying to get it to be the same
Yep,
person.
Yeah,
But yeah, it is two
So-
separate functions.
Was this what we negotiated as far as for the animal inspector with Phyllis?
Yes.
Okay, well then it should be all right.
Yep. And so the other lines on the yellow on this page are the highway, salary, full, part-time and expenses, and Board of Health, which I'm fine with. I still think independent boards make their own the judgments on budgets, and we don't need to have opinions on it in select board, but those are the three that are in yellow, correct?
Yes, I did want to point out on Board of Health, I did question what looked like the 6.4% increase. It's actually a cost of living plus the adjustment, the market rate adjustment, plus there's an extra Saturday in there, which, believe it or not, because it's such a small salary, makes that percentage jump look so huge.
An extra Saturday?
Does this include the additional 6 hours that they're looking for?
That's down in transfer station,
Oh, sorry. My
which
bad.
I'm still working on because we may put that in a revolving. We're still having that discussion. So, or that's up in transfer station rather, not down.
So I would make the motion to approve line 63, 64, 69 to 72, and 80 to 82, which is again the animal inspector, highway, and Board of Health.
And the highway, does that include, and I know that Fred has multiple buckets, so this might not be the right bucket. Is this his extra person?
Yes, that is the
Exactly what I was
extra,
gonna ask.
the third seasonal worker, as well as the additional highway laborer position. And the $5,000 is for the bucket truck. Revolving.
Mm. I'm not seeing, oh, there it
That's
is.
the expected.
There it is.
It's in the supplemental budget.
I was
Supplement.
gonna say, if
It adds. to
Bottom
for
the-
your
left
eyes,
line.
there you go.
Okay,
All right, I'm fine with that.
I'm sorry, it's not the third laborer, that's I get them mixed up which budget they come out. It's the additional plow driver.
oh,
So
No, that
where's
would
the
be-
extra
Additional plow
person?
driver would be
Oh, wait a
it's salt.
that would be in snow, yeah.
Nope, you're right. I'm correcting myself when I was correct the first time. My eyes are jumping down. So the supplemental, sorry, for highway is the additional seasonal worker, add a third seasonal worker for spring and summer, the additional truck driver laborer, and then the 5,000 for the bucket truck. And the plow driver is in snow and ice.
Yes, okay. So did you make? the
I
motion
made
for
the
this?
motion to do the things in yellow, yes.
Okay, and you made a second, Peg?
I did.
Okay, then all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. I would actually ask if we could hold 85 to 87. I do have some additional information on expenses. Some of the dues have gone up. So if we could hold on that for this week.
Okay. So we have the library,
Yes, we have the
And
library and recreation.
And recreation
this-
probably requires a little bit of an explanation unless you guys have heard it before.
Well, we may have, but the people in the audience may not, so.
Yeah, so
Sure.
explain the change in recreation, the added
So-
part-time wages.
Recreation has a change in their expenses that's fairly substantial because the CPA, the Community Preservation Act, has approved funding for renovation of the fields and adding irrigation. So
oh
to
my
sup-
gosh.
yeah, it's a $300,000 project, I believe. So we can't obviously renovate something without maintaining. That would not be prudent. So to go along with the CPA funding request for this project that will be on at town meeting, I'm correspondingly putting in the request for maintenance of the fields with the irrigation, as well as the electricity for the irrigation and the annual upkeep on the actual system itself. So that accounts for the extra 11,110. I will tell you that the actual maintenance of the fields, once they're upgraded, costs another $9,000. But recreation has asked soccer and baseball to contribute, and they have agreed to contribute a total of $9,000 annually to that maintenance for their use of the fields. So that number actually would have been
Here.
significantly higher.
So in the event, Kristen, even though CPA has said, yes, we're gonna give you a chunk of change, it's still up to the voters at town meeting to approve it. So what happens if the voters say, nope? What happens to line 94? Is that like a change on the fly?
I mean, we could do it that way. Changes on the fly are a little challenging because we have a couple other potential changes on the fly. What I would say is there's the understanding that their budget is broken out into those specific categories, and so that would have to roll to free cash. It would not be expended.
All right, so in the event that the town doesn't approve the funding of the field, the town will still vote on this line. Oh, we have a finance question in the back. The town would still vote, and even if they said yes, so that money rolls to our free cash, which is not free or cash.
Actually,
Julie.
hi, actually, it's not a question. I asked this question when they presented, and they said that they would still need that funding because even if the project doesn't go through, they still have to do maintenance.
Maintain fields.
So, but they basically have to maintain fields that aren't in the best shape right now.
Okay.
So they would need that money. That's how they presented it, so.
Right, they wouldn't need the money for the irrigation, electricity and the irrigation
Yes, Julie?
maintenance, but you're correct, Julie, they still do have to maintain the fields. I
Ouch.
thought
I
the
was-
cost
let
was
me
a
ask
little
something
bit
first.
less. If they didn't have to do anything regarding irrigation, but I know at least the electricity and the annual work on the irrigation, would come off, and that was about $3,500.
So Kristen, I think some of us might be a little bit confused about all the things that are included in the recreation lines.
Mhm.
Would it be possible to perhaps hold on that and maybe you could give us a little bit of a breakdown on
Sure.
it? Um,
Well, the
I did
part-
not see. What were we
Well,
looking for
there
here?
are two things, that the supplemental budget, you have $2,000 extra that is being added in under expenses, but it's not on the list of potential supplemental requests, so we don't know fully what that's 2,000 for. And our part-time wages, you talked about audibly about how that's to maintenance of the fields, but the supplemental budget request says that's for recreation director.
Oh,
And
so
so
if
the
you go-
title and what you've said they're doing don't jive in my brain.
Okay,
Yeah.
if you go to the second page of the supplemental funding requests,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
so the 2,000 is in there and the 10,400 is in there.
the 2,000 is for the registration software that they said would make their life much easier if they did that. And then you have the part-time director, and then they also wanted money for summer program counselors, where I think Kristen was.
yeah, but where is the irrigation and all
I
of that?
didn't put it through as a supplemental funding request because it would be mandatory to go along with the fields if we renovated the fields. So I was
And-
just going over that piece of it. I hadn't gotten to the supplemental piece yet.
11,000 is not a supplemental, because it's not supplemental. It's required, so that's the 11,000 field maintenance is there. That's the 2,000 for the software, which was then added in.
And then the 12,680 is again, part-time wages, which the supplemental talks about again as a recreation director, but you talked about a staffing to help field maintenance, and I just.
The,
No,
it's
Well,
the director and also camp counselors.
Well, I mean, I think it's easy enough to put the numbers on the top part of this. But what it is paying for, I guess.
okay, hold on.
Seems a little bit confusing and,
Can I try this again?
well, I mean, either that or can we just give it another week on this one and maybe get a little bit more of a review on it? Because I was unaware of all these different things and what they were paying for, and the increase was 74.7%, on the one line, so it's
Right,
a
that's
lot.
why I was trying to give you an overview of it, but I can send you her. So there's two pieces of it, right? There's the supplemental funding, and then there's the overview of the project or the regular budget itself that covers the irrigation. So I can send
And
you
where is the irrigation then?
in the regular part of the budget. So
So it would be the 11,000? No.
correct.
That's the maintenance.
And that's, just putting a tag on, what these different things are in this line.
So the 11,000 is the maintenance, and the proposed 300 is coming from CPA.
Right.
Which you
Can
would
you
never
see
see
Where's
my,
the
on this,
3,000?
you'd
can
never,
you see my screen?
Oh,
Sarah?
300,000.
you'd never see that on this budget because it's CPA money.
Oh, I gotcha.
Right. I don't know if you can see my screen. I pulled up recreation's regular budget. So the second column is what they're requesting for FY25. Right now, recreation only has an expense budget.
They have a
So
revolving account too, a revolving fund.
Right, but that doesn't go to town meeting. So the only thing that they have on the town meeting on the operations side is an expense budget. They don't have a personnel budget right now.
Right.
So it's the septic that they pay for, the goose patrol, trash down at South Commons, and then the field maintenance is the one I'm talking about is this 18,600. So they already have 12,450 in their budget. So they're asking for an additional 6,150 to cover that field maintenance, and soccer and baseball are chipping in $9,000 to cover the rest of this. It's a $27,000 contract to properly maintain the fields. And as Julie said, that's something that they need to do, whether we upgrade the fields or not, because in order for them to rent them out, they need to be able to update them. And then down here, you have the irrigation electricity and the irrigation maintenance. And sorry, I said 2,500 is 2,100.
Hey, did we ever figure out, the electric for the the scoreboard down there? Is that a baseball paying thing? Is that the town paying electric bill?
I don't know. I'd have to look into that.
So what is the balance in their revolving account?
I don't have that information handy. I'd have to look at that up.
Yeah.
That up.
I mean,
So-
it does say that 2280 will be paid for by utilizing the recreation revolving funds.
Mhm.
And that's it. Is there anything else that can be utilized? The revolving accounts could be utilized to cover once we
Yeah.
find out what the balance is.
Yes, so they're also putting $800 towards the software that they're requesting.
$800
That would
out
go
of
to-
the 2,000.
Nope. So they're requesting camp counselors, and I recommended they take those out of the revolving fund because they're going to charge fees for camp that are going to come into the revolving fund, and those can be used to pay for counselors.
Yep. I'd just be curious to see what's in the revolving fund.
Okay, I can get that information.
And, whether more of the revolving fund could be used to cover the 74.7% increase.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't use it for personnel. That, anything that's not a temporary thing like a camp counselor, but an ongoing rec director. I don't want to put personnel in a revolving fund because it's not a guaranteed source of income. So that, you want personnel to come out of the operating budget, but I can definitely check and see what the revolving fund balance is.
Well, I'd appreciate it. I think that it at one point, which was many years ago, I think it was 20 or 30,000.
Okay.
So I don't know. It could very well be next to nothing, but it's worth asking.
But a lot of that money they had given back because of the whole kerfuffle with the cost of the walkabout down there, that they had received large donations, but the money
Well,
that they
just
thought
would
that it
like to
was
know
versus the
what the
money that it
balance-
was.
That's
They
what
needed
it's
to
there
give
for,
checks
is
back.
to use. So,
June, did you know about the baseball, the scoreboard?
The electricity?
Yeah, is it the town that pays for it?
Currently, it's part of the Southcom and electric,
Okay,
so the town will do that out of electricity.
okay.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that answer. What was that?
June was saying the baseball scoreboard that, and I had asked who pays for it, baseball or the town, and she said that the scoreboard was hooked into the plugs down at South Common, so it is a town expense for the electricity for the scoreboard.
Okay. Thank you.
okay.
So we'll hold on recreation then on 94 and 95 and
Yep.
hold also on 85 to 87.
So it's just 92 and 93, which again, I feel the library board should have control over. It doesn't need a select board recommendation, but
Well, I think they
will-
kind of decide what those numbers are, though.
They-
Really?
They do, but
Yeah.
historically, we have FinCom that helps put together the budget and make sure that stuff is done. I feel it is duplicative that the library does them, and then we also have to have an opinion on it, but it's the process we're putting together now, even though I think that we as select board should only be looking at things that we control from the select board. But I'll make the motion that we support 92 and 93 as written.
Okay.
Second.
All right. All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 I think that's the last of the other for tonight.
Okay.
Okay, whoops. Sorry, it's like zooming in. Okay.
And did you want to look at the annual town meeting warrant.
Yeah, I just had a couple of things. One of them was an administrative oops that got left out. And that was related to a housing trust article that had been requested. Let me just pull it up on my screen here, please. Let's see. So again, anything in green on here is a change or new.
Oh,
So
there was one thing. I know we're probably not responsible for this. It was where is it now? Oh, it was I want to say the 5th page. Is that, it says Berlin Town Meeting at the top.
After all the financial, or after the town bylaws governing the conduct.
Yeah,
okay.
and then there's a section on this page called paper ballots.
Ah,
Do we even do paper ballots any longer?
if the clicker machine goes down. You'd
Well, I
have to
suppose, but there's probably not a section on clickers.
on the,
Right.
no,
Okay. Yeah, I got these from the moderator at
I know.
request to put in there, but I can ask if he can update that section.
And
Yeah.
he might want to do that. Maybe, I mean, even if it's after town meeting, for the next year.
No, we have a couple weeks if you could put something together that says, but is used by most, but to save time, the moderators on certain, you can call it a show of hands, which we don't do anymore.
and the clickers take care of that.
Right, it's the
Right.
clickers to take care of that. And then basically it's voice vote if he thinks it's likely to be unanimous, and then clickers if he doesn't, and.
Right. I'll have to ask him though, because this is his text, so I don't
Yep.
want to change it with.
I
Oh,
agree,
I
I
know.
agree.
Yep, I know. All right. So we're looking for green, are
We're
we?
still working, we're still working on this and just in terms of the language. If you go to page 11, the numbered page 11,
Yep.
you'll see the transfer of town-owned property to the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. So this is one that had been talked about and it was in my email, and I apologize, I didn't get it in there, but it did come in before the deadline. This is 8 Lancaster Road, which is 1.44 acres. The Municipal Affordable Housing Trust is requesting that this property be transferred to them for a proposed community build. And I believe Scott may have even more information
Yep.
about this than I do.
The plan for that property is to do an RFP to have it develop into affordable single-family home.
Could you define affordable? I'm not being facetious.
Right.
But I'm
that's why
just-
I've paused.
I know.
There are 1,000 definitions and I don't want to quote the wrong one. And so I would go back to that it is generally going to be a home that, it is not a 40B.
But
And.
it's
and
not
so It will be likely an RFP, and so the developer will have some say in it. But we're going to look for a developer that would develop a home where the future owner would put in sweat equity as part of the building of the house. And so that some of the sort of cost of house is going to be hours of their time and not necessarily pure dollar amount.
Cause I mean, I've heard kicked around, oh, an affordable home is 500,000 to 600,000, but that also assumes that you're making a salary of 180.
Mhm.
So to me, when someone says that's an affordable house, it's like, well, that's really not. But so that's why I was just kind of asking when you say a potential affordable house ballpark-ish.
Right, which I don't
You
want to
can't.
quote a number
I
off the
know.
top of my head because we've not worked with the developer yet and
I
haven't
know.
narrowed that down, but that's the goal of the housing trust is to build things that are affordable. And thus, it is not necessarily a profit motive that's determining the value of the house. I think that is a great question though, and we'll make sure that when we do the presentation at Coffee Talk in April, that we have an answer for that. And if I can get something sooner, then I think I know the answer, but because
Wait,
if I say something out loud that's wrong, it will take us years to ever correct it. So I will hold off.
Fair.
Okay.
Mike, if I.
Go ahead.
As a whole, Kristen, I would like a little bit more thought put into the numbering of these. I would like to think that we somehow group together those that can be done by sort of unanimous consent together. Like the PEG Article 12, which is the PEG spending for the cable access, which usually there's a set of ones we do unanimous, but 11 is one that's a transfer funds to stabilization account, which we might, because it's a new stabilization account, want to explain separately. And so I've tried in my brain to do it a couple times, have not come up with an order that I would prefer, but trying to think of a way that would make the meeting go well, because like Article 7 is OPEB, and that's definitely gonna be one that's gonna be worthy of some serious discussion.
Right, and that needs to go before the budget. And this is where, this is getting tricky, right? Because there's certain items that we're gonna wanna pass over, and I've gotta talk to town council about this, because I think at some point, if it doesn't pass, then we don't use the funding and it flows to free cash. I mean, that funding can only be used for health insurance. It can't be spent for anything else.
Right.
So if OPEB doesn't pass, it's not like we can spend it on whatever else, it's locked in for health insurance. But the idea was to put some of the ones that impacted the budget before the budget in case we had to change the budget. As for the ones that used to get lumped together, many of those we were able to take out last year, if you remember, because they had been, they were no longer required to be included. They through the Municipal Modernization Act and other statutes, they didn't need to be there. So I'll try to think about it some more, but part of the reason it got reorganized was because of the idea of getting things out before the budget that might impact the budget.
And then I would love to explore, and not, I think, for full discussion tonight, but whether or not Article 5 really is two articles. Because one is the transfer of land, and one is the agreement. And I get that you can't transfer the land if there's not an agreement for them to sell us the land. But
Okay.
but those, I don't want on the floor those two issues getting too mixed together in conversation.
I thought there should be, yeah.
Because right now it just has Article 5 as one item.
Right, because if you approve the development agreement contemplates selling the land to the town for $1. So if you approve
And if you
that,
separated them, how would you, which one would you do first?
I would do the development agreement first.
yeah,
If that one doesn't pass, then you can't buy the land because they've not agreed to sell it to us. And I think that the buying the land for $1 would easily, I hope easily pass without a lot of conversation, but I would like to make sure that that conversation about purchasing it is separate from the conversation about whether or not the development agreement is a good idea.
but
Maybe-
the purchase
maybe
can't
we'll-
happen unless the development agreement gets passed.
So
Right.
Kristen, maybe we check with town council on that one.
Okay,
Yeah, just like you can't put in money into an OPEB fund if you don't actually agree to do OPEB. I mean, and those are two different articles on the agenda, aren't they?
Yes.
they are, but they're different because one is an acceptance of Mass General Law and the other is a transfer of free cash. So I'll
Right.
ask.
Right, but you can't transfer free cash if we don't pass it. So
Right.
if one dies, then the other one takes a ride.
But just to look at it, I'm trying to figure out in my brain going like how conversations might go on the floor of town meeting and trying to see if there's ways on complicated topics to see, make it even a tiny bit simpler. So that it is easy for people to make up their minds how they'd like to go.
Okay, let me think on that a little, see if I can reorganize it a bit.
Kristen, are you still waiting on Article 25, the assessor stipend for certification? Are you still waiting to hear back from legal on that determination? That's why there's really nothing in there?
No, I did hear back on Friday, I believe. I just didn't get a chance to put it in there. So there's an old article that needs to be revoked and the new one needs to be put in.
So you'll have that update for us next week?
I should, yes.
All right. And can you, on Article 22, I know I saw it and I know I heard it, but I can't find it in my notes. Article 22 regarding the FY 26 real and personal property reevaluation, the assessor, the description for 55,000, what was that for?
So that's the 5-year reval that we have to do on all real estate in town. That's the DOR, one of those lovely unfunded mandates.
And we've done this before, this isn't anything new, correct?
No, it happens every 5 years. You have to hire a consultant to come in to do
Yeah,
it.
but haven't we, I think we've included it in the assessor's budget, have we not?
You might have, but typically you shouldn't include a one-time cost in the budget because then you have to pull it out the following year. A one-time cost should be an article.
Okay, I just thought maybe we had been doing it the other way.
I think we did, and while I was on, I think we're trying to fix that, because I think in some years we've forgotten to take it out and ended up with, because you're like, oh, zero budget, there's no increase, yay, but there was no reason to have it in the first place, so I think it saves us from
Yeah,
mixing that.
I just thought it looked like something that had changed, that's all.
It is a change. It's only once every 5 years.
No, I mean, it changed as far as how we used to do it or something.
Oh, and maybe it is. I mean, this is the standard way of doing it, so,
But I understand this is probably the way we should be doing it.
right.
The article can also switch years, across 3 years, so it's special article.
Right, so if it happens, the money happens to flow into next year, they don't have to ask for more money again.
June was making a
Right.
comment about special articles and flowing around years.
It'll go across multiple years because
Mhm.
the reval will go into 26 as well. So that makes more sense to have it in an article rather than trying to split up what you're going to spend in 25 versus what you're going to spend in 26, because it's hard to say how far you'll get each year once you get started.
So overall, do we know when we will have the FinCom recommendations and the proposed motions more than a blank holding spot? Do we have a time frame?
So I'm waiting until after the school comes to present, and then I should have some more concrete dates on that.
Okay.
And they'll be there Wednesday, so then I'll have a little bit more information, but there is a deadline for getting it done, and it would certainly I would say the end of March is typically when they have to present their recommendations. It's on the calendar. I just can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay. Anything else?
Well,
Not on this.
Hmm?
Not on this.
no,
So we're all set with the warrant for this evening?
I,
Well, yeah, we'll get an updated copy next week.
Right.
and then the expectation is potentially next week, we'll start taking some of these and voting on our recommendations.
Are we putting our recommendations on them?
That we usually had select board recommendations on warrant articles. No,
We went
the
through
select
this
board doesn't have
last
any
year.
opinions on? Okay.
We have lots of opinions, Scott. Mm-hmm.
We went through this last
I mean,
year.
it's something we could talk about, but I don't think we have done that before.
Here, I think it depends on them.
Now, you guys haven't done recommendations before, but you're welcome to if you would like to.
Okay.
That's what we figured out last year. So that's the only reason why I didn't put any spots for you to vote.
All right then. Gonna move on to new business. And the appointment of the animal inspector effective May 1st, 2024. Phyllis Tower.
I think we covered this one already.
Yep, I think so.
Mr.
I'm
Dead Horse.
ready to make a motion to approve a recommendation.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Sure.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the wonderful Select Board 2023 Annual Town Report that me and Dee did together. So, back and forth, back and forth. If you've had a chance to look at it. I don't know if it's in final draft.
I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you able to figure out how to get all the red lines out of there?
The version in this, our thing didn't have any red lines in it.
Correct.
Are the lines there or gone?
No,
They're-
there's
they're
the
fine.
comment on the side, it's grayed out, that like the comments would appear.
And wait a
Right.
minute, I thought there might be one.
Oh, there are, on page 2, there's 2 comments that are there, it says formatted, not highlight, there's 2 of them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when I make it a PDF,
Yep.
it won't have any.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. I mean, it looked fine to me when I looked at it this afternoon. So,
I accepted everything, so it
Yep.
It looked like it didn't show anything.
Well, see, but that's my problem. I was having trouble getting rid of it, and then when I click on something, something else would change. So I said, I'm gonna let Dee do this. Um, if you've had a chance to read it,
I have my annual comment that it is way too long and I don't know anything I would remove. We do a lot.
and it's
apparently.
only like one sentence each paragraph.
I
just
know,
about.
and you could
So-
talk, some of these topics you could talk a lot more about too. yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
No, I'm fine with it as it is. And free if you find other typos or a sentence you think could be slightly better worded. you
Mhm.
have
Right.
My
That's
trust
what I was
to
counting
you.
on. I was
to-
counting on Dee to tell me if there were things that I just pretty much went through the agendas
Yeah.
for the last year and put down things that I thought would be important to people about what we've done,
Yeah.
what we've been doing.
Well, it's hard because if you look at the last page, we are hoping to bring this as a warrant article to the annual town meeting, and I know that you're writing this in arrears. So yes, we are bringing the River Bridge modification to the town meeting.
Right.
But when you wrote this a
Well,
year ago, we were hoping to bring it to you.
it,
So
don't
next
think
year's
it
will
is-
say we did bring it to
right, I
you.
was gonna say,
Yeah,
Exactly.
because it's not fully finalized and
correct, correct. Well, and the same thing with,
we're hopeful.
yeah, all right, so the same thing could be said for the IAC and OPEB.
Right.
All right.
Do you want a motion to that effect that we are fine with this?
It's up to
as a-
you.
I think I'd make a motion because it is something that is written by the three of us, sort of signed by the three of us, even if digitally. I make a motion that we approve the select board annual town report for calendar year 2023.
Yeah. I'll second it.
With the proviso that
Yep,
any small typos that Dee or Chris finds, or even Kristen finds, are allowed to be approved, fixed without having to come back to us.
Okay.
so the only other thing on, of course, on page 6, where you're talking about, some of the breweries that showed up down at the
Mm.
mall. And then your other one talks about, we are pleased, to another local brewery. Do you want to put the local
I
brewery in
couldn't
there?
remember what it was.
It's,
Was it Clover Road?
yes, it's
Yeah.
Clover,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Over
Clover
You
Leaf.
got that one?
Clover
No,
something.
no, it's Clover Road. But
I'll look it up.
okay, I just couldn't remember.
Yes,
It
it's
was
Clover-
done.
I looked quickly for it.
Clover
Where it
Road
was, but I
Brewery.
couldn't, I
Yes.
couldn't find it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Clover Road Brewery.
Yeah.
So, if we can give a shout
Yeah.
out to them.
Yes, and that was what I was trying to do, but
Yep.
I just couldn't remember.
Yep.
On that one, who it was. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Alrighty. So you made the motion.
Yep.
Do you second the motion?
I did with the pending changes.
Okay. And then we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. And let's see what we got here. Oh, Krista, did you want to talk about this one? Select board representative?
Yes, we received a formal request from the police union to open negotiations. They have requested meetings on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. for the next, I believe it's starting next week, for at least the next 3 or 4 weeks, and then see where we go from there. We want to get everything done by June 30th, so we need to get going with that. And the select board has appointed a member to the negotiating team in the past. So I would ask if you could do so again, please.
And I would be happy to oblige and be the representative for the select board.
I think you've done a great job as our representative on previous ones. I'm fine with that as well and have no need to do it myself.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing that I ask is that you and Kristen provide more frequent updates as to what's going on and give us a chance to say, ooh, what about, can you add, can you think about, instead of waiting almost until the end when it's kind of done.
Okay, probably probably, Kristen, tell me if I'm wrong, we would probably need particularly input at the beginning, because once everybody puts their things on the table,
Mhm.
there's no,
Their list of wants.
well, you know, they put theirs, we put ours, and then I think there's only so many meetings where you can add to them, and then after that, you cannot.
So,
Right,
So
that's,
I think
that's
that-
in the ground rules.
Right.
Yes,
right, so that likely, like before their first big meeting, that we have an executive session to talk about what we
Want.
think.
yes, if
we'd
there's
like it.
anything
Yep,
in particular.
yep, and then maybe potentially even one not after we've heard what the union wants, just so that we can also hear that and provide any feedback that we might have.
Right.
Sounds
So
good, Kristen?
Chris, maybe what we want to do is do an executive session next Monday at the end of the meeting.
Okay,
So
Put-
if you guys.
write that down.
If the board members could think about some of their things. I also have a list I've been gathering over the past year.
Okay, then, yes, you could probably share that.
Yep, that I'd be happy to share with you. I can put it
Okay.
into the executive session folder for next week.
All right. Okey-doke. So, you guys are both okay? We don't need to take a vote? We're good? All right, then we'll move on to board questions on the agendas and liaison updates. Is there anything in particular that you'd like to see on an agenda
Not off the top of my head.
besides the things we may have already
right.
mentioned?
Um, I do have a question, if that's, okay, Kristen, where are we at moving to every other week pay? Because I thought that was part of the last union contract. Seeing the union contract on the agenda reminded me that I've not asked that in a while, and that's in theory happening in 3 months, right? Because we can do it towards the end of June.
That's on hold at the moment, pending getting another treasurer collector. Unfortunately, that was not set up under the previous one properly, it seems. So we're gonna have to go back and look at everything.
You have any other questions?
No, that'll be fine.
Peg,
No,
nothing?
you better, don't ask again, because I will come up with something. Just take the no and run with it, Chris.
I wasn't sure I heard it right.
Yeah, take it, it's my gift to you. Take it and run.
Aw.
I know that you're petering out. It's after
know.
9:20.
I know, I can't even see straight. All right, then I would take a motion to adjourn, seeing as how we don't have another executive session.
So
Right now.
moved.
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye.